I wanted to take a moment to talk about being alone and how a lot of people associate that with it being bad, and how I think that being alone is something that everyone needs to experience for themselves. That way they have an understanding of who they are. And I think society tends to look at being alone as maybe falling into this depressive mindset, or looking at you wanting to be away from people as you insinuating that there's something else going on behind the scenes. That's not necessarily true. Being alone has a lot of benefits when it comes to giving time to yourself. Committing time to yourself is something that everyone must do in order to become better. And if becoming better is something you're looking to do, then being alone is something that has to happen. So if you're looking to study, then you have to be alone in order to really grasp that information. Now, some people might work better in a group setting, and if that works for you, by all means continue that. But being alone has multiple benefits when it comes to focusing or tuning in to who you are and understanding that person. So if it's working out by yourself and pushing yourself physically, that requires you to be in that environment by yourself, then so be it. Or if it comes to trying to move forward with a skill and you're really trying to tune into that skill, then being alone, not having the distraction of another entity next to you, is important. I mean, even if it's someone you truly love, someone you care about, and they're sitting with you, but you're attempting to focus on whatever the task in front of you is, that person will be a distraction, whether you think so or not. Just knowing that their presence is next to you will have some sort of effect on you wanting to tune into yourself. Now, being alone has this beautiful aspect that you don't really get to hear about, especially with, a lot of people expressing this idea that being alone is bad, where you get to sit in silence. And what I'm referring to is meditating. If you begin the process of tuning into yourself, where you try and focus on nothing. Some may find that focusing on nothing to be redundant, a waste of time, or just stupid. And to them, I say it may be because it's a lot harder to do than you think. Now, meditating is something that I've tried to practice for years now, and I've always found it difficult to quiet the mind. But going out of your way to find a place, sit down, and just tune off is incredibly relieving when it comes to the stresses of the day-to-day, when it comes to completing the required routine, when it comes to going to the 9 to 5. If you can take a moment and sit down with yourself and just tune off, whether it's on the way home from work, you get into your car and you just sit back in your seat, not looking to sleep, but just, tune off and quiet the mind, sit in nothingness, becoming closer to that empty being. You start to understand that routine, that 9 to 5, the mundane, everyday situation that you're cycling through is something to be grateful of. When you find yourself in that quiet state and you start to become just your environment, you can kind of get a feel for what's around you, even if that setting is inside your car. You can sense the space that you're in, and that space goes further out where you can start to recognize the pavement underneath you, the air that's around you, the stars that are above you. You get to feel what they are. And it isn't a feeling of pain or happiness. It's a feeling of absolute nothingness. You start to tune in to those things. And yes, those things are, in a sense, inanimate objects. They don't have any feelings themselves. But when you recognize that they are something that physically exists around you, and you're in tune with those objects, things like a tree or a plant or something like a rock can start to feel different to you. You start to look at that or those things, and they carry a new sense of life. When you pass that energy over to animals like birds or your pets, you are able to reach a better understanding of how they're feeling based on just the environment that you see around them, the body language that they represent to you. And that's something that doesn't come from interacting with people. You have to tune into yourself, your feelings, your emotions, and open up those valves so they can course through you. And when you can pass that energy onto things around you, things start to feel a lot more welcoming. They start to open up to you. And that energy, of course, can be passed on to other people. If you grow this understanding of who you are and what it is you enjoy and what you don't enjoy, then when you're hanging around other people, it's a lot easier to express to them who you are. Whether it's someone who doesn't particularly enjoy a hobby that they do, you're able to say, hey, listen, not right now, not really in the mood for that, or I don't enjoy what it is you do, so I'm gonna take my time and energy elsewhere. Now, of course, you're gonna say it in a manner where it isn't disrespectful to the person, and hopefully if that person is your friend, they'll completely understand where you're coming from. But being alone helps you understand those aspects of you, and in turn they make you a better person when you're able to pass the knowledge that you've learned of yourself back into society. If you have someone who's worried about you or is trying to understand why you're focused on spending time with yourself, it's okay to express to that person that you don't necessarily want to move away from people, but you just need a moment to understand yourself. It's hard to explain that to someone who cares about you or even someone who loves you. If you tell them that you're looking to spend time with yourself, they will immediately look at that as a bad thing. And that isn't because they're worried that something's wrong with you. They may be worried that they did something wrong. And under certain circumstances that may be the case. But if your focus is to just grow an understanding of who you are, then it may be beneficial to express that to them. If they still don't understand that, then you need to proceed with whatever it is you're looking to tune in on, because not everyone is going to understand that spending time with yourself is a means to better yourself, if that's the focus. For example, I'm out here just on a hike, and I came out here because I wanted to go on a run. But I found this beautiful little spot, and it seems like no one's ever touched it before. But I come to these spaces to grow a better understanding of who I am, whether it's learning to be uncomfortable in a physical environment or becoming comfortable with spending time with myself. If my place is this type of environment and it helps me tune into who I am on the inside by being in this environment, then I'm going to continue to pursue that. That might be different for you. I don't know I don't think there's a one size fits all for what type of environment people enjoy being in, but for me, I tend to enjoy a bit of discomfort. I feel like it's necessary to becoming a more well-rounded person, and that can be interpreted in many different ways, whether it's a physical discomfort, a social discomfort, a spiritual discomfort. If you put yourself intentionally in situations where you feel uncomfortable, you actively seek those environments, then you'll find that it's a lot easier to approach them moving forward. Once you understand, hey, what's the worst that can happen, and you start to tune yourself into the situations with a little more knowledge on how it may play out, it becomes a lot easier to accept going into it. So I'll leave it at that. I hope you guys were able to pull something away from this. If so, please leave a like, and if you want to continue listening to just my ideas, then go ahead and subscribe. Thank you.